Okay, so imagine, right, you're drifting off, finally getting to sleep, and bam, you're wide awake, gasping for air. It's not a nightmare or anything, but that familiar feeling of just not being able to breathe. Now, if you have asthma or someone you care about does, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
actually what we're going to be tackling today in this deep dive. Um, you sent us this guide, How to Create an Asthma-Friendly Bedroom for Better Sleep. It's from Asthma Friend. And we decided, well, who doesn't love a good night's sleep, right? So let's dig into this.
Let's do it.
And maybe we can help some people out there get a better night's sleep. So first up, we got to talk about, I guess, the battleground where we spend like a third of our lives. The bed, the bedding, it's so comfy and cozy. But could it be like secretly harboring a bunch of tiny little asthma triggers?
Definitely could be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
Definitely dust mites.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They love our beds.
Everyone always talks about the dust mites.
Well, yeah, and for good reason. I mean,
Yeah.
the allergen levels, from dust mites can be like 10 times higher in bedding that doesn't have like a cover on it.
10 times.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot.
It is. And, they love warm human spots.
Right.
Our beds are perfect for them.
Yep, make sure.
They eat our dead skin cells.
Oh, gross.
I know, but it's true. And they leave behind all this waste, and that triggers our asthma symptoms.
So, like, what can we actually do about it? I mean, the guy mentions dust mite covers. Are those actually worth it?
They absolutely are, yeah. They basically, you can think of them as like a shield for your mattress and pillows.
Okay.
Blocking those allergens from reaching you.
Okay.
Also, watching your bedding every week on hot.
Hot? Okay.
Yeah, at least 130 degrees Fahrenheit. That can really cut down the allergens.
Okay, so crank up that heat on laundry day.
Yeah.
Now, the guy also mentions hypoallergenic materials. What does that even mean?
Well, hypoallergenic basically just means that it's less likely to cause an allergic reaction.
Okay.
So think things like microfiber for your pillows and duvet instead of feather filling, which can be a haven for dust mites.
That makes sense. So switching out your bedding for something hypoallergenic could be a good first step. But what about the rest of the room? Like, you can't escape dust, can you?
Not really, no.
So dusting,
Yeah,
the chore that never ends.
that's true.
But if you have asthma, it's not just about, like, how it looks, right?
Right.
It's about managing those triggers.
Exactly. It's more than just a visual thing. Dust is actually all those tiny particles like pollen, pet dander, mold spores, all that stuff that can really irritate your airways.
Yeah, and make it hard to breathe.
Especially for people with asthma.
So the guide says we should be using a damp cloth, not a dry one. Why is that?
Well, think about it. When you use a dry cloth, you're just kind of pushing it around, right?
Yeah, you're just moving it.
You're making it airborne. And then
So you're making it worse.
you are, yeah. Whereas a damp cloth, it's going to trap that dust
Oh, okay.
and keep it from, getting stirred up.
Okay, that's a good tip. Damp cloth it is. Now, this next one might be a little more intense. It says we should replace carpets with hard flooring. Is that, like, really necessary?
Well, it really depends on the person and, how bad their asthma is. But carpets, especially wall-to-wall, they trap so much dust and allergens.
Yeah, they do.
So hard flooring like wood or tile or laminate is just much easier to keep clean.
Yeah, no more vacuuming.
Less vacuuming.
I guess so.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah, okay, so hard flooring could be a good option. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about humidity. It's like the Goldilocks situation. Too much is bad, but too little is also bad.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, what's the ideal humidity for someone with asthma?
Well, ideally, you want it between 30 and 50%.
Okay.
Because if it gets too high, you're creating this perfect environment for mold.
And dust mites.
And dust mites.
Which are
yeah.
both, like, huge asthma triggers.
Huge, yeah.
But then if it's too dry, the air can irritate your airways. So how do we find that, like, sweet spot?
Well, the guide mentions a few things. Dehumidifiers are great if your space is too humid.
Okay.
And air conditioners in the summer can help with both the heat and the moisture.
Right.
Now, humidifiers, you got to be careful with those.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah, because if you don't clean them properly, they can actually make mold worse.
Oh, wow.
So, everything in moderation.
So it's all about balance, right?
It is.
All right, now onto a topic I know everyone's thinking about. Pets. We all love our furry friends, but that dander, it could be a real asthma trigger.
It can.
So is the guys telling us to kick our pets out of the bedroom?
Well, it's tough, but honestly, keeping pets, especially the furry ones, out of the bedroom is often the best way to minimize that exposure.
I mean, that makes sense.
It does, and it can really help with your sleep quality.
Yeah, no more, like, furry friends in your face all night.
Exactly.
Are there any, like, compromises if you really don't want to completely separate?
Yeah, definitely. Regular grooming is so important.
Okay.
Brushing your pet often, will really help get rid of that loose fur and dander.
Okay.
And those HEPA air purifiers we talked about,
Okay.
they can really help capture those airborne allergens.
So maybe like a designated pet cuddle zone in a different room?
Yeah, that could work.
And lots of brushing?
Lots of brushing.
That sounds reasonable. Okay, speaking of air purifiers, let's talk about overall air quality in the bedroom. Like clean air, it's important for everyone, but especially for someone with asthma.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like literally a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so HEPA air purifiers, we've talked about them a bit.
Yeah, they're great for removing those allergens and pollutants from the air.
Okay, and the guide also mentions strategic window use. Is fresh air always good for someone with asthma?
Well, it kind of depends.
Okay.
If it's peak pollen season, it might actually be better to keep your windows closed and just use your AC for ventilation.
Oh, that's a good point.
But if the air quality's good, then opening the windows for a bit can definitely help with airflow.
So it's all about being aware of what's going on outside.
Yeah, and using common sense.
Okay. What about those like scented candles and air fresheners? Are those a no-go?
They can be for some people.
Okay.
Yeah, because those artificial fragrances, they have all these chemicals that can irritate the airways.
Okay, so being careful about what you bring into your bedroom and what you breathe.
Makes a big difference.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground so far, from those little dust mites to humidity and even our furry friend. But we're not done yet. We've got more to talk about when it comes to creating an asthma-friendly haven. So stick around. We'll be back in a moment to tackle even more, like mold, clutter, and even furniture choices. So grab a drink, maybe take a deep breath, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into creating that perfect asthma-friendly bedroom. We've already tackled like the dust mites, the humidity, even those furry friends that we love so much, but there's still more to cover, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There are more of those like sneaky asthma triggers lurking around, aren't there?
There are, yeah, like mold.
Mold.
It can be a big one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's not just those big, obvious patches you see. It can be hiding in all these sneaky spots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how do we like even tackle that?
Well, prevention is key.
Okay.
Mold loves dampness, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you take care of any moisture problems.
Makes sense.
Like if you've got a leaky faucet or something.
Right.
Get that fixed right away.
Because that could turn into a mold issue.
Exactly. And make sure there's good ventilation in those areas that tend to get damp.
Like bathrooms?
Yeah, bathrooms, basements, laundry rooms, all those spots.
Okay, so keep things dry and ventilated.
Yeah.
Now, the guide also mentions mold-resistant cleaners and paint.
That's right. There are some really cool products out there these days.
Mold-resistant paint, who knew?
I know, right?
What does it do? Is there like something special in it?
It's got these additives that actually help prevent mold from growing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's great for bedrooms, especially if you live somewhere humid.
Okay, so it's like being proactive with those products.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's talk about something that might hit a little closer to home for some people. Clutter.
Oh, yeah, clutter.
You all have it,
yeah,
right?
All do.
Like that chair in the corner that's just covered in clothes.
Yep, the junk drawer.
Exactly, the junk drawer. But it's not just about being messy, is it?
No, not at all.
It can actually be a problem for basically with asthma.
Yeah, clutter traps dust
Right.
and allergens, and it just makes it harder to clean.
So that overflowing closet, it's not just an eyesore.
Right.
It could be triggering your asthma.
It could be, yeah.
So what are we supposed to do? Just get rid of everything?
Well, not necessarily, but the guide suggests using closed storage,
Okay.
like drawers and cabinets or those bins with lids.
Okay, so keep things contained.
Exactly, and try to minimize those things that just collect dust.
So maybe less knickknacks and stacks of books.
Maybe, yeah, it's about being mindful.
What about window treatments?
Oh, those can be a big one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those heavy curtains, they can hold a lot of dust.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
The guide suggests going with something easier to clean, like blinds or washable drapes.
Okay, so something a little more streamlined.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's something I never would have thought of. Furniture.
Furniture.
Yeah. Who knew that could be an asthma trigger?
I know, right? It's not just about how comfy it is.
So what's the deal with furniture?
Well, some materials and finishes, they release these things called VOCs.
VOCs.
Yeah, volatile organic compounds.
What are those?
They're basically chemicals that get released into the air from certain materials,
Okay.
and they can cause all sorts of health problems.
And for someone with asthma?
They can trigger those airway irritations, make it harder to breathe.
Okay, so what are we supposed to do? Like, avoid furniture shopping altogether?
No, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
But there are definitely things you can look for.
Like what?
Well, solid wood is usually a better choice than particle board or pressed wood.
Okay.
Those often have formaldehyde in them, which is a big VOC offender.
Okay, so solid wood, got it. What about finishes, like paints and stuff?
Yeah, look for those Lovox or Vigo-free options. There are
Right.
tons of great eco-friendly choices out there now.
Oh, that's good.
You don't have to sacrifice style for your health?
So you're telling me I can have a stylish and asthma-friendly bedroom?
Absolutely.
I like the sound of that. Now, what about that new furniture smell? Anything we can do about that?
Yeah, the guide recommends airing out new furniture before you bring it inside. If you can, leave it outside or in a well-ventilated area for a few days.
So those VOCs can kind of air out.
Exactly.
Okay, so a little patience goes a long way.
It really does.
All right, so we've talked about mold and clutter and even furniture. It's amazing how many things can affect breathing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But the good news is, every little change helps.
Right, it all adds up.
Exactly.
Okay, well, our deep dive isn't over yet. We still have more to explore when it comes to creating that asthma-friendly haven. So stick around. We'll be right back to tackle the final steps, including how relaxation can actually help manage asthma. All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into creating an asthma-friendly bedroom. We've covered a lot, haven't we?
We have.
Dust mites, VOCs, all that stuff. But, creating that asthma-friendly space, it's not just about the stuff in your room, is it?
No, definitely not.
It's about, taking care of yourself, right?
Absolutely. Your mental and emotional well-being plays a big role.
Right, because living with asthma, it can be stressful.
It can be, yeah.
Just the thought of, having an attack,
The limitations, the constant worrying.
always there in the back of your mind.
It is, yeah.
So what do we do about that?
Well, first of all, just acknowledge those feelings. It's okay to be frustrated or anxious or even angry.
Right, it's normal to feel those things.
It is. Bottling it up won't help.
No, definitely not. Now, the guide talks about finding support. What does that look like?
It could be anything from talking to a friend or family member to joining a support group.
Right, so you don't have to go through it alone.
Exactly.
And speaking of support, the Asthma Friend community, that's a great resource, isn't it?
It is. It's a fantastic online space for people with asthma to connect with each other.
Yeah.
Share tips, ask questions, just get that support and encouragement.
It's like knowing you're not alone in this.
Exactly.
And it's not just about finding support, but also about learning, right?
Absolutely. The more you know about asthma, the better equipped you are to manage it.
The guide encourages people to, read up on it, attend workshops, talk to their doctor.
Yeah, all of that.
So knowledge is power, as they say.
It really is.
But what about, the day-to-day stress?
Well, that's where finding healthy coping mechanisms comes in.
Okay.
Stress can be a huge trigger for asthma attacks. So,
Really?
yeah, so finding ways to relax and unwind is so important.
So, what, taking a bath, reading a book?
Those are great. Also, exercise, yoga, meditation,
Okay.
spending time in nature.
Yep, all those good things.
And don't forget, laughter.
Oh, yeah, laughter's always good.
It really is. It can change your whole perspective.
Okay, so we've talked about the bedroom and we've talked about taking care of ourselves. But what about when we leave the house? How do we manage those triggers out in the real world?
Well, the biggest thing is being prepared.
Okay.
Always have your rescue inhaler with you.
Right, that's essential.
It is, and make sure you know how to use it properly.
Yeah, good point.
And be aware of your personal triggers.
So, if, pollen sets off your asthma,
yeah, try to minimize your exposure.
so maybe wear a mask during allergy season.
That could help. Or choose smoke-free environments.
It's all about being aware and making smart choices.
It is.
Now, what about traveling? Any tips for managing asthma in new places?
Yeah, definitely do your research.
Sure.
Check the air quality forecast. Find out about common allergens in the area.
Okay.
And make sure you know where to get medical care if you need it.
Right, just in case.
And of course, pack your medications and keep them handy.
And don't be afraid to, speak up.
Absolutely.
Let people know about your asthma.
Yeah, if you need accommodation, ask for them.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into creating an asthma-friendly bedroom and really an asthma-friendly life, right?
Yeah, it all connects.
We've covered so much.
From dust mites to furniture to relaxation technique.
And it's been really eye-opening, I think.
I hope so.
It's all about taking control, isn't it?
It is. Taking control of your environment, your health, your well-being.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. The Asthma Friend community is there to support you. You can connect with others, share your experiences, and find tons of helpful resources. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more. We'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, breathe easy, everyone.